Oh no, my friend's been bitten by a snake and needs immediate medical attention. I better call 911.
911, what's your emergency?
My friend's been bitten by a snake and needs help. How should I get to the other side of the river as fast as possible?
Well, this is going to take a function, so we'll need some variables. We're trying to figure out time, right? That's our dependent variable. Our independent variable will be how far down the opposite shore you will row. So I want you to picture this. The sides of the river are parallel lines, right? How wide is the river?
About 3 kilometers.
All right. Let's call the point closest to you on the other bank D. How far is your friend from the point across the bank?
Maybe 8 kilometers?
Okay. Let's call your friend's location point B, and the spot you're going to row to will be C. Your point is A. This means that the invisible lines between D and A and C, and D and C form a right triangle. In order to find the distance between A and C, we're going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We already know A is equal to 3 because that's the width of the river. However, we have to find B by using the total distance of the stream, 8 kilometers, and subtracting the distance we're going to run, x. This leaves us with B squared equals 8 minus x squared. The distance between C and B is now called x. So now we're going to plug in what we already know into the equation. A squared, which is 3 squared, plus B squared, which is 8 minus x squared, equals the distance between A and B, which is h squared. You're going to want to take the square root of both sides and then simplify this by changing 3 squared to 9. In order to make it easier to type into the calculator later, we're going to change the square root to a power of 1/2. We also need to use the distance formula. Distance equals rate times time. Since we're trying to find time, let's manipulate the formula so it's time equals distance divided by rate. Therefore, our total time will be the distance rowed divided by the rowing rate plus the distance ran divided by the running rate. Our distance towed is equal to h, so we can use the equation we got from the Pythagorean theorem. Now, about how fast can you row?
About 4 kilometers per hour?
Good. We can now divide how far you will row by that, which we found to be x squared minus 16x plus 73 to the 1/2. Now, how fast can you run?
About 6 kilometers per hour?
All right, add that into the equation and divide the distance by it, which we know to be x. And we have an equation for the time it will take to reach your friend as a function of how far down the bank you will row.
Great, but what's the fastest way to get to my friend?
That's a little more complicated. Do you have a graphing calculator?
Yep.
Perfect. The first thing you would do with the calculator would be to press the y equal button and bring up the screen where you can enter functions to be graphed. Then you would enter the equation we determined earlier. The next thing to do would be to alter the graph because you can't have negative distance or time. Because you can't have a negative, the minimum x and y value must be 0, and the maximum should be around 10 because it gives you breathing room to see how the graph curves. So, hit the window button and enter the parameters. 10 for the maximum and 0 for the minimums.
Perfect. So now we can just look at the lowest part of the graph, right?
Slow down there, pal. There's a much easier way to find the minimum than looking at a scrunched up, mentally pictured graph. We just have to use the minimum function on our calculator. First, you would press the second key to access the secondary functions of the buttons on your calculator. Then you would press the button labeled trace, but you're really accessing the calculate screen for your graph. You should see an option labeled minimum, so highlight, then select it. Now the calculator would be asking for either a lower bound or left bound. This is the calculator's way of saying, I can find the minimum, but where should I look? So place the blinking cursor to the left of where the minimum appears to be located using the directional keys, then hit enter. The calculator will then ask for an upper bound or right bound. So place the blinking cursor right of where the minimum should be and hit enter again. The x value that appears should be the distance you should start running from in order to minimize the time it takes to get to your friends. In our case, that's 5 kilometers. Then, plug in 5 into different sections of your equation and solve to see how much time you need to spend rowing and how much time you need to spend running. So, you'd start by doing the top of the first part, which is 8 minus 5. So now you have 9 plus 9 to the 1/2, which is 18 to the 1/2. The easiest way to do that is to put it in the calculator, which gets you 4.24. Then you would divide by 4 from the upper part, which gets you 1.06. And then you would have 5 divided by 5 divided by 6. So you want to run 1.06 hours, and you're gonna want to row 1.06 hours and run 0.833 hours. If you add those together, you get 1.893 hours as the total time.
Wonderful, but before you go, say I wanted it to take a specific amount of time, like 2 hours. How would I determine that distance?
To do that, you make another line on the calculator at y equals 2. Then you'd find the intersection of 2 hours and an x value by going into the calc functions on your calculator and then using the intersection feature. This gives us our x value. To figure out how long you need to run and row for it to take 2 hours, then you would plug it in and solve just like we did when finding the minimum.
So you do 8 minus 2.18 is 5.28, and plus 9 is to the 1/2 is 3.84, and divide by 4 gets you 0.96. And you would do plus 2.18 divided by 6, which is 0.363. That would mean you would row 0.69 hours and run 0.363 hours. Thanks so much for helping me. I'll get right over to my friend.
Good luck!